Hello everybody, welcome to a portfolio overview of all of the works I've done here at SUNY Canton. I will be going over an illustration, a pixel art animation, a level design that I created, a video game, user experience design work, and photography. While my major might be in game design and development, I still have quite an interest in many of the aspects of GMMD, and more specifically for this piece, digital art. So around a year into my college journey, I picked up art as a hobby, and coincidentally actually, it helped me in a bunch of my other classes too, as a lot of game design classes want art done too. So this was just a piece that I made around a year and a half ago, and at the time it was really just a way for me to figure out my skills and more importantly, what I needed to work on. Looking back at this piece, I do really like the way that the visual effects look around the character, and it did take me quite a bit of time to do that, around 2 weeks I think of on and off work. However, just looking back at it, I can definitely tell that a bunch of the core principles and core mechanics of drawing I definitely need to work on still. So next up is a pixel art animation that I actually created for my first semester here at SUNY Canton. We had a contest in one of my classes that was basically just to see who could create the funniest and the best pixel art animation between a few teams in the class. I didn't realize at the time how long animations took to create. I thought that this would be a cakewalk doing like a simple 17 frame animation. However, this took way longer than that. It took a few days of kind of working at it decently hard each day. But I definitely think the end result is something that's kind of funny to look at, and to this day I still like it. So coming up next was my final for my Virtual Worlds class that I took with Professor Hastings last year. So in Virtual Worlds, we basically conceptualized and created any fantasy world that you would need for movies or video games or a story or pretty much anything that you would need it for. We would just create them in an actual 3D environment and on paper. So my world that I created in the Unreal Engine, which is a popular video game engine that's used nowadays, my world is a fantasy world that's kind of nestled in between a valley with a bunch of gigantic rocks and trees on either side of the valley. So as you walk through the video, you'll see a campfire that's at the beginning, kind of an abandoned campfire with like an axe and some sitting logs next to it. Along the rock faces, there's a bunch of ambient lighting to show the details in the rock and to kind of create the illusion of maybe some different colored fireflies flying around the world. And then as you walk through, you'll notice that there's a village with like old school fantasy cabin housing and giant mushrooms to kind of sell the fantasy idea. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this project turned out, and it was a really fun project to create, and I definitely am interested in still pursuing this as a hobby in the future. This is actually a video game that I've been working on for quite a few years, actually, believe it or not. So I started creating this back in 2018, before I even came up to SUNY Canton, actually. It's a video game that started out with a tutorial, just kind of showing you the basics of the gaming engine. And the whole purpose of the game is that you are this red orb in the middle that is running around and shooting at the blue orbs that are coming from the sides of the screen. And if you miss a bullet, another blue orb actually spawns. So every time you miss a bullet, another enemy spawns, making the game just a little bit harder. And I kind of get on this project every few months, 6 months or so, work on it for a few days when I get inspired, then kind of forget about it again after that. So that's why there's really not much work done on it, and it's still pretty ugly. But yeah, it's one of my longest projects that I have created right now. Unfortunately for myself, I'm actually not going for a game design job outside of college. Instead, I'm going to be going for user experience design work, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. So hopefully my major will have a little bit of pull from game design into the user experience design, hopefully. So what you're seeing now is the app. It's called Figma, and it basically allows you to create prototypes, really low fidelity prototypes of apps and any project that you're creating. The project that you are looking at right now is a workout app that I have conceptualized. It is basically allowing people who download it to log their statistics when they work out, and then in the future they can look back at it and see how much progress they've made in the gym, or lack of progress, and kind of just keep track of their statistics when they're in the gym. So for my final piece of my portfolio review, I decided to do a photograph that I took of my roommate's cat, and I learned to use how to edit in Lightroom with it. So I actually will show a before and after of what the picture looked like before I edited it, and what it looks like after. And this is just one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken, so I decided that I should add it in here.